All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're not just talking about a bullet. We're talking about a true American icon, a cartridge that's been doing the job since 1911. Honestly, it's a piece of history you can literally hold in your hand. This is the story of the 45 ACP.
And that just says it all, doesn't it? This thing wasn't just cooked up in a lab somewhere. The legendary John Moses Browning designed this cartridge for one reason, and one reason only: to work in the real world, paired with a pistol that became just as legendary. It was born for a purpose, and you can still feel that weight of history today.
I mean, just look at this track record. It was adopted way back in 1911, and it became the sidearm cartridge through 2 world wars. But what's really amazing is that it's still here. It's still a go-to choice in all sorts of modern guns. It has outlasted pretty much every other handgun cartridge from its era. So, how did it all get started? Well, to really get the .45 ACP, you have to go back to where it was born, and that was in the jungles of the Philippines at the turn of the 20th century. This round wasn't designed for punching holes in paper. It was forged in the fire of real combat out of a desperate need. So here was the deal. U.S. soldiers were in these intense, close-quarters fights, and their standard-issue .38 Long Colt revolvers just weren't getting the job done. They were hitting their targets, sometimes multiple times, but the enemy fighters just wouldn't go down. The message from the front lines was loud and clear. We need something with more stopping power, and we need it now. And this comparison lays it all out perfectly. The .38 was just too light and too slow, so Browning's answer was the complete opposite: a big, heavy 230-grain slug that moves with authority. It wasn't about being the fastest bullet, it was about moving a massive amount of lead to end a fight. And the bottom line? It flat out worked. Okay, so fast forward to World War I. The Army has its perfect handgun, the 1911, chambered in its perfect cartridge, the 45 ACP. But then a huge problem pops up. They simply couldn't make the pistols fast enough for all the soldiers heading to Europe. So what do you do when you have the perfect ammo but not enough guns to shoot it? The answer was just beautifully practical. The Army went to Colt and Smith & Wesson and said, "Hey, can you guys build us some of your big revolvers but chamber them in 45 ACP?" And they did. This gave birth to the M1917 Revolver. It got guns into soldiers' hands and, just as importantly, it kept the ammunition standardized. But there was one tiny technical issue to solve. And here's the clever little hack that made it all work. See, the .45 ACP is a rimless cartridge, meaning it doesn't have that little lip on the back for a revolver's ejector to grab onto. The solution was the moon clip, a simple, star-shaped piece of metal that holds 6 rounds together. It lets you load and unload the revolver super fast. It was a simple, genius fix that proved the .45 was incredibly versatile. All right, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Let's tackle the biggest myth about the 45 ACP. The idea that it's some uncontrollable hand cannon. Anyone who's actually shot one knows that's not really the case. So let's break down why. This is always the first question you hear, right? People who've never shot one read about it online and imagine this violent kick that's going to snap their wrist. But the actual feeling, the reality of shooting it, is something completely different. And it all comes down to one thing: pressure. Now look at the numbers here because they tell the whole story. A standard .45 ACP operates at a pretty low pressure, around 21,000 psi. Now compare that to a hot 9mm plus P round, which is pushing close to double that, around 38,500 psi. That massive difference in pressure creates a totally different kind of recoil. Instead of a sharp, snappy jolt, the .45 gives you a slow, heavy push. So that's the secret sauce right there. You have this low-pressure round pushing a heavy bullet. The result is more of a rolling impulse that pushes straight back into your hand, not a sharp, painful snap that flips the muzzle up. Especially in a heavy steel-framed gun like a 1911, it's a very manageable recoil that you can control. It's a rhythm you can work with. Now, don't think for a second that the 45 ACP is just a relic sitting in a museum. Its core design is so good that it's been stretched, tweaked, and modernized in some pretty wild ways, which is how it stays so relevant even today. Yeah, if you want to push the limits, you get into some really cool stuff. You've got the .45 Super, which is basically a .45 on steroids, loaded way hotter to get you into 10mm power levels. Then there's the .460 Roland. I mean, this is a conversion that gives you legitimate rifle-level energy for hunting. And on the other end, you have the .45 Gap, which was designed to pack all that .45 power into a shorter case that can fit in smaller guns. And we can't forget where this cartridge really shines: submachine guns. Because it's naturally slow, it's already subsonic, which makes it perfect for suppressors. That heavy bullet is absolutely devastating up close, but it's less likely to overpenetrate like faster rifle rounds. And that controllable, pushy recoil makes it a dream in full auto, from the classic Thompson all the way up to the space-age Chris Vector. Now, for anyone out there who reloads their own ammo, you already know this, but the 45 ACP is just a dream to work with. Since it's a low-pressure, straight-walled case, your brass lasts pretty much forever, there's a massive variety of billets you can use, and it's incredibly forgiving when it comes to powder charges. It's just one of the easiest and most satisfying cartridges to reload. So after more than 100 years, where does all this leave the 45 ACP? You know, in a world that seems obsessed with higher and higher magazine capacities and super fast, flat shooting rounds, what's its place? What's its enduring appeal?
You know, it really comes down to this. The whole philosophy of the .45 ACP was never about carrying the most bullets. It's about making sure the bullets you do carry are decisive. It's designed to deliver clean, predictable, authoritative power to end a threat right now, without any fuss.
And that quote just nails it, doesn't it? It's not the new, trendy thing. You carry it because that big, 230-grain slug has over a century of proven performance. It does exactly what it says on the tin, every single time. It's the definition of consistent, reliable power. And I guess that leaves us with the big question, right? In a world that is constantly chasing more capacity and higher velocity, is a century of proven threat-stopping power still the ultimate trump card? For a whole lot of people, the answer to that is a very clear yes.